Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from a throwaway account and is titled, "Am I the arsehole for telling my girlfriend that we are done if she doesn't want another kid in the future?" Obligatory throwaway because friends know my real account. Background, I'm 28 with no kids. My girlfriend is 26 and has an 8-year-old son from a previous relationship. She was with the guy since they were kids, but when she got pregnant, he dropped the ball. She had it pretty hard during the early years, and it was a huge struggle for her to balance work, school, and her son. She made it work and is now in law school. The kid's dad made a change about 3 years back when his own father died and has since been helping. We've been together for a year and 2 months, and I really do love her. However, when we first got together, she did mention that she doesn't see herself having other kids because it was incredibly hard. She values her time alone when her kid is away, and she wants to travel with her son, being that he's bigger now. Also that she has a school-age kid and doesn't want to start over with an infant. We were too early for me to complain about it or to try to change her mind. It wasn't brought up again for some time. Fast forward to last night. We were watching something and I mentioned that my coworker has left work to have her 4th kid. She said that she couldn't imagine having that many kids. I got a little offended because that my parents had 5. She told me that's what worked for my parents, but it wouldn't work for her. I asked why and she listed the reasons above and that 4 kids is just excessive. I tried to reason it down to 3 or even 2. She said she doesn't want any children but her son. The way I see it, the only reason it was so hard was because of her age when she first had him. My logic is that any future children we produce will be secure and she won't be alone or have to struggle. For background, I have 4 siblings while she has 1 sister who lives in another state. She doesn't understand how important siblings are. I told her if she's unwilling to have even 1 child for me in the future, then we are done. She agreed and said, "We are done then," and I'm incredibly hurt. This is a hill she's willing to die on. She's super smart, but so hard-headed. No matter what I said all night, she wouldn't hear it or budge her views at all. I'm hurt because I made the empty threat and she very easily went through with it. I'm not feeling valued at all. I love this woman and the thought of us having an expiration date kills me. I want to marry her and have kids with her, and she's just uninterested. She also said I'm being an arsehole and not taking her experiences into account when I totally am. I acknowledge how hard it was for her, which is why I think she would have a totally different experience if she tried again. She's not 18 anymore and will have me by her side. I want her back but don't know what to say. She seemed very certain when she agreed to the breakup. Please tell me, am I the arsehole? Now, I don't think I've ever seen an ultimatum in these stories ever have a good ending. And you're certainly not the arsehole for wanting children, but at the start of your relationship you said it was too early for you to complain about it or try to change your mind. And early on in the relationship is the perfect time to start expressing what you see in your futures, what your future goals are, especially if you're serious with each other. Obviously on a first date I totally understand you don't come out and say, "Hey, when are we having kids?" But when the relationship starts to become serious, you certainly should be mentioning that you want kids in your future because that's where the incompatibility comes into play. If she doesn't want kids, you want kids, it's just not going to work out in the end, is it? Especially when she's so certain that she does not want any more children. And you can't force that. Imagine you did talk her into it somehow, and she may just become resentful in the future for it. Again, which is just going to damage your relationship, so yeah. A deleted user says you're the arsehole considering she told you this pretty much from day one. You're also an arsehole for making an empty ultimatum about it and then whining about how she called your bluff. You complain about not feeling valued when you aren't listening to or valuing her input at all. Dennis is a bad man who says you're the arsehole. Jesus, if someone doesn't want kids, you can't make them. The sibling thing isn't really an argument at the moment. You are looking at a 10-year gap and it's very rare to get a sibling relationship with that kind of gap. As you say, this is a hill to die on. You have to decide what to do with that. She's not changing her mind anytime soon. Also, don't make empty threats. It comes off as super manipulative. And that's a pretty good shout about the age gap there. One of my brothers, my oldest brother, is over 10 years older than me. And whilst we have a relationship and we talk to each other, we never had we didn't play together or anything like that when we was younger. My brother was just too much older than me. Like when I was 10, he was 20 odd. Which there's no resentment about or anything like that, but it's just the way it was. Next comment says, yes, you're the arsehole. Wanting kids and that being non-negotiable is okay. But you knew how she felt at the start and you decided her reasoning wasn't good enough for you. You tried to leverage your relationship against her will, and when it didn't work, you got mad. Of course you are the arsehole. I think you should break up, obviously. OP responds saying, I know I was wrong for bluffing the breakup. I just felt backed into a corner. I always assumed she would change her mind eventually, and once her kid got older and would want a baby again. I was wrong, and now I feel she wouldn't want me back even if I apologized. She said I should have as many children as I want. Obviously, not with her though. Tynesale says, I'd like to spotlight this particular line, in quotes, she doesn't understand how important siblings are. And goes on to say you're the arsehole for that in particular, honestly. She literally has a sibling. Just because she lives in another state doesn't mean it's not her sister. Imagine if OP's girlfriend wasn't close to her parents while OP visited his every weekend and he said she doesn't understand how important parents are. Goldbeb says you're the arsehole for knowing she didn't want more kids and assuming she would just change her mind. You hadn't been aware this would be a no arsehole situation, but the fact that it seems like you thought you'd be able to pressure into it looks bad, dude. There's also the fact that you seem to be assuming that the reason her pregnancy was bad/rough was because of her age rather than asking her if she had health issues/ if it was really hard on her. Being pregnant isn't easy, and it's super possible she was in a lot of pain and discomfort the first time around, that she isn't interested in going through it again. OP responds saying, Jesus Christ, I'm a fucking arsehole. She has a condition. I unfortunately do not remember what it's called, but during her pregnancy she used to have mini strokes that would make her face and hands go completely numb. I didn't even think about that. Thank you for your judgment. I know she doesn't want me back, but I'm going to profusely apologize anyway. The other commenters said this, I'm putting value over a baby that isn't real over her life. And one more comment from Seth928 says you're the arsehole. I was going to go with no arseholes here because having different wants for your future is a mature adult reason to break things off. She's not an arsehole for not wanting kids. You wouldn't be the arsehole to break it off because she didn't and you did. But you went and had to be an arsehole about it. You're trying to paint her as a shitty person for not wanting more kids. If she doesn't want more kids, she doesn't want more kids. It's her choice. She can't be wrong about it. She was probably nonchalant about being done because you were being an arsehole about it, or she's a mature adult and realized that you shouldn't continue a relationship with someone who's clearly on a different page than you with regard to kids. ETA, and in the future, don't try to strong-arm someone into having more kids than they actually want. That's how you end up with an ex-wife who resents her children. So then OP went on to update the post about 3 weeks later, which says, well, it's been about 3 weeks since my post in my breakup, and it took almost that full time to let it sink in what I've really done. I self-wallowed for some time and attempted to guilt trip her and get my siblings to talk to her for me. What a mistake that was. She called and ripped me a new one, worse than you guys did. She told me she was thrilled we're not together and that I'm manipulative and disgusting. That left me really shocked, and I had to review my behavior over the time we'd been together. I think over my life I've always had an idea that with enough perseverance, anyone's mind can be changed. I don't know where I got this from. I guess I thought it was a sign of being a strong person, like taking what you want from life, even when the chances are slim. It sounds stupid because it is. I reread my post just now and cringed the whole way through. Even the language I used showed that she was right in that I'm manipulative. She's a human being and I didn't treat her with respect. I played with our relationship to get her to change her mind about something very important to her. I deserve what happened. I also have realized that our views on relationships were a little different. She had never brought up marriage or anything, while it had crossed my mind almost daily because I really was so enamored. So I probably looked insane going on about having 3 children. It sounds so stupid to me now. Among the things she said on the phone, one was that she found my lack of respect for her body and choices appalling. I wasn't asking her to be forgiven, but I wanted to express how much her and her son meant to me. And as most dumped people tend to do, I couldn't give a shit about what I was bitching about in the first place. I miss going to the park with her and her son. Those days were nice and calm, and I didn't appreciate them. I let some fictional children and my bad habits ruin something good. I have a lot of self-reflecting to do, and while I'm still sad, I know that her dumping me was really for the best. Thanks guys for being honest. And now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And this next story comes from Wordsmithing007, who says, "Sister will not attend wedding due to potential weather concerns." Hey everyone, as indicated above, my sister recently advised that she will most likely not attend my destination wedding next spring because it may potentially be too humid for her liking. She also has concerns that we may experience heavy rainfall during that time, late May, as the wedding will be close to the start of the rainy season in Mexico. Problem is, she was just vacationing in Cancun this past April and had no weather concerns. She is also upset that we didn't go with her resort of choice. She travels extensively and at different times of the year, so her concerns seem like a cop-out. She now wants to discuss options, and I'm truly baffled at the audacity. What would you do? For me in this one, I think the discussing options in quotes there would be absolutely not. Either you can choose to come to my wedding or you don't come. That is your choice. We're not discussing options about changing things to whatever you want. And I wonder what her end game is in this particular post. What's she trying to get to change it to something that she likes? Is this out of some sort of jealousy? Like OP said in this, the absolute audacity of going up to someone who's planned their wedding and saying, no, we need to discuss some options here because that's not going to work for me. That's just way too humid for my liking. But a couple of comments, one from Glass Crep who says, "Sounds like she wants a reaction from you. Don't enable that behavior. It's your wedding. She's been invited, not summoned." OP responds saying, "This is typical behavior for her, but I'm just shocked that she's doing this over my wedding. She's used to throwing fits and having the whole family, including me, bending over backwards to please her, but this is my final straw." Rachel says and quotes, "What would you do?" Then says, "Okay, we will miss you at the wedding. My husband's sister didn't come to our wedding because she didn't want to cut her 3-month-long vacation a week short. But she made sure to ask a couple of times if we could reschedule the wedding. Her loss, it was a great party." Melodic Anything says, "What options? I wouldn't even entertain it. There are no options to discuss. It's not her wedding, she gets no say. The only option she gets to decide if she attends or does not attend the wedding you plan." And one more comment from Microsoft Sucked who says, "My sister didn't come to our cousin's wedding because why would anyone go to Chicago in February? Like, I don't know, to support one of your only cousins getting married? It's an hour flight for her, but she couldn't be bothered. And our parents even offered to pay for a flight and hotel. Some people just don't want to go and respond with the first dipshit excuse they can think of. It sucked because she was literally the only family member who didn't attend." So then OP comes in with her first update, which says, "Thanks for all the great comments and upvotes everyone. I have an update from She Who Centers Herself. Apparently I misunderstood her. She never said she wouldn't attend, just that the weather would be an issue for her. So of course I wanted to know what has changed for her, as the plans remain the same. I also asked she confirm attendance ASAP as we need final numbers. Her response to this? Nada. Instead, she wants to revisit our previous discussion and how it impacted her, and what needs to be different next time. Lol, the audacity continues, friends. As a sidebar, the conversation she is referring to consisted of me telling her how hurt I will be if she does not attend, and that I expect more from my sibling. Anyway, those of you who summarize this may all be a ploy for attention, bingo. But unfortunately for her, I no longer have the energy for the madness. Have a great weekend, everyone." And OP comes in with an update 10 days later, which says, "Y'all, I've been blocked. But let me back up and start from the beginning. I'm a bit late with posting this, as I've had a lot to attend to this past week. You may remember that my sister had concerns about spring weather conditions in Cancun. We had a short text message exchange which culminated in an agreement to discuss her concerns in person or via phone. Well, she returned from her trip to Ireland, we live in Canada, to visit a dude she met weeks before online, and reiterated to the point that she had notes to go over, to ensure communication between us is more respectful going forward. Again, the audacity. I let her know I'm open to a discussion, however, I wanted to ensure we address her original comments and confirm her attendance at the wedding. I even went as far as admitting that perhaps my initial reaction to this weather concern was overblown and that I apologize for it. My future husband made the suggestion. I wouldn't have done it. As usual, she did not reply to what I said and instead advised that I should reread our initial interaction, as my response to her concern is the main thing we need to address. Anyway, the day before we are scheduled to speak, she messaged to say she is free and we can speak right away. Before I had a chance to respond, I got another message informing me of the following. I've done some deep thinking, and I've decided that this isn't a healthy relationship for me. I've seen a pattern of behavior I don't want to be subjected to anymore. I can't walk on eggshells when simply expressing a concern to my sister. I don't feel safe with you. Take good care. She then immediately blocked me before I had a chance to respond. Utter and total bullshit. She made herself a victim in a situation where the issue in question has yet to even materialize. We are in bizarro land, folks. So fellow future brides and grooms, here is my takeaway. Some people, family included, cannot be happy for you because they are not happy with themselves. They will find fault and issue with anything that does not immediately serve them, all while expecting you to kowtow to their demands. My sister's inability to hold herself accountable, empathize with others, and simply be kind and considerate are not things she is willing to do. She has spent years demonstrating that it's either her way or the highway, and I'm tired of it. This recent behavior shouldn't really come as a surprise. She's just on a new cycle of chaos and will be back. Unfortunately for her, she is no longer wanted at my wedding. Quite frankly, I'm glad to be rid of her petulance and drama. A big thank you again to all of you kind souls in the comments from my previous posts. And now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's have one more story. And our next story comes from a throwaway account who says, am I the arsehole for not wanting my husband to go to his ex's funeral? I'll admit I'm biased right off the bat. I couldn't stand her. I call her his ex to myself and others. He called her his friend. We're all in our early 40s. She died recently, an aneurysm. I've been with him for 10 years now, but he'd known her for 20 plus. The way he tells it, they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, then realized they weren't a great couple and decided to just be friends. All that happened years before I met him. He was clear early on that she was important. A couple of months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife. He explained the above to me, saying she was one of his closest friends and that it was purely platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to an ex, and he told me, that's fine. If you have a serious issue with it, let me know and save us some time. I'll choose her. I like you and all, but I've known her for over 12 years, and she's one of the most important people in my life. You'll have to be okay with that if you want us to be a thing. When we were engaged, I asked again. He gave me this perplexed look and asked, why would us getting married affect my friendships? I sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social. She understood some part of him I couldn't. Her husband was friends with mine as well, so it's not like I could use him as an angle. He'd have lunch with the ex, they'd go to their geeky movies and whatever. A few times I brought it up, he said, we had this conversation before, you had your chance to back out. She died after they had lunch the other day on the way to her car. He spent a bunch of time crying, but I was honestly relieved. He was working with her husband on funeral planning. I told him, you don't think you're going, do you? My argument summed up. She's dead. She's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use this she's my friend excuse since she doesn't exist anymore. He had his cry for a couple of days. He gets to be done with mourning her already. There's no need for him to go to her funeral since I wouldn't want her at his. He was the angriest I've ever seen him when I told him that, replying that he'll be going no matter how I feel, and that he's willing to burn this to the fucking ground while holding up his wedding band. Besides you, she was the closest friend in my life. Him, her husband, and my sisters are calling me an insensitive arsehole over this, all saying that there was no romantic aspect to their relationship and that I'm heartless. Her husband went so far as calling me a ghoul for how I've reacted. I've never felt their relationship was appropriate, and I hid that for years because I wanted to be with my husband. Now that she's gone, I don't feel like I should have to hide it anymore and can speak freely. Am I the arsehole for just wanting him to be done with her and for him to not attend the funeral? When we get to posts like this, I always think you must have read this back to you at one point, and how can you not see what you're writing is absolutely heartless like's been said in this post. When she died, you said he spent a bunch of time crying, but you was honestly relieved. You said to him, you don't think you're going, do you? Your argument and said she's dead, she's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use this she's my friend excuse. Replies says, this is the most monstrous take I've seen on this sub in a while, and this is Am I the Arsehole, so that's really saying something. I don't even know why you're here asking, because everyone in your life has already told you what you'll hear here. A lack of compassion you've shown in your post honestly makes me wonder how you've managed to hoodwink your husband to ever think you're a decent person. You're the arsehole, and I don't think you should be surprised if your husband goes to that funeral and doesn't come back. Grumpy Bearbank says you're the arsehole. This is unbelievably cruel, and frankly cutting off your own nose. It's awful to say, but you just got what you wanted. You just had to be quiet for 2 more weeks. Sunny Hill says you're the arsehole. You were jealous of a dead woman who was your husband's close friend and confidant for years. And you didn't know it right off the bat. You can't even give him a chance of closure. That's not up to you to decide when he is done with mourning. Keep up being jealous with her, and you will find yourself to be his ex-wife as well. And as you can imagine, the comments were just pretty much that all the way through this post. Again, I'm just shocked that if someone can write this and then read back on it and not realize, holy shit, what am I writing here? Anyway, what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, support, and time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.